Good morning and welcome to the regular meeting of City Council on Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Mr. Charlin. Mr. Coghill. Ms. Gross.
Here.
Mr. Mosley.
Here.
Mrs. Cale Smith. Here. Mrs. Strasburger.
Here.
Mrs. Warwick. Mr. Wilson. Mr. Lavelle, President.
Here.
5 members present.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our next order of business is to amend the agenda. Is there a motion to amend?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Our next order of business is proclamations. We have one being presented by Councilwoman Cale Smith.
I have to pick which glasses I need. Thank you. Will Dick Scringer from DA Zapella's office please come forward? Yeah. You want to come up with him? No? Okay. I just want to say, if you know anything about our senior centers, our healthy active living centers now, you'll know that they do an amazing job with our seniors across the city of Pittsburgh. Well, they used to be senior centers, and Dick Scringer used to work for the city of Pittsburgh for many years. He started off in Mayor Ravenstall's office, then went to City Parks, and when he was at City Parks, he turned our senior centers into healthy active living centers. So he's done a lot with our seniors. And so, I don't know if you know, but May is also Older Americans Month. So, presenting you with a proclamation, you can talk a little bit about what you've done and what you're doing currently. Whereas, established in 1963, this year marks the 61st anniversary of Older Americans Month, read by an older American, observed annually in May, and it is time to celebrate the experience, wisdom, and contributions of past and current older adults in our society. And whereas during this month, we would like to recognize Mr. Dick Scringer. Throughout his career, Dick has advocated for improving the quality of life for seniors. While Director of Community Engagement at the City of Pittsburgh, he revitalized and changed the senior program into the Healthy Active Living Center program that became the largest of its kind in the Commonwealth. And whereas in 2015, District Attorney Zapella brought Dick on board as his senior project manager and the first senior justice advocate in the Commonwealth and county. The Senior Justice Advocate Program supports crime victims over the age of 60 with a connection to social services, law enforcement, legal representation, and help finding justice as they navigate the court system. And whereas, through Dick's work with the District Attorney's Office, the benefits of meaningful relationships and social connections on the health and overall well-being of older Americans is evident and ultimately reduces their vulnerability and mistreatment and neglect. And whereas the District Attorney's Office also created Project Lifesaver to bring home older citizens who wander off and go missing. The Fraud Squad, which has prevented over $35 million in losses among older Americans, and the first of its kind Special Victims Unit exclusively devoted to elder abuse. And whereas Dick is a proud native Pittsburgher, born and raised in Lawrenceville, I didn't realize, Councilwoman, you can come up with this, I didn't realize that, and currently resides in Highland Park with his wife Barbara. And now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby recognize Dick Scringer in his service to older Americans during Older Americans Month. And be it further resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby declare May 1st through the 31st, 2024 to be Older Americans Month in the City of Pittsburgh.
May we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Can I say a few words? Sure.
Happy Tuesday. What a great day to be a true son or daughter of the city of Pittsburgh.
thank you for this wonderful acknowledgement and recognition. When I started my career 6 decades ago, it was at KDKA Radio. I was 19 years old and worked on a wonderful campaign and slogan called Pittsburgh Someplace Special. And it's nice to say that till this day, it is still someplace special. And that specialness is the connection of one another and the people to one another. They're leaders with the people that live in all the communities. I look at the wall and see a connection with 7 of the mayors whose names are appeared up on that wall, and I have to take time to thank Bob O'Connor for bringing me into city government, Luke Ravenstall for setting me on the direction that led me to today, and to District Attorney Zapala, who allowed me to be where I am today and the destination of serving and taking care of the greatest generation and the next to the greatest generation. Thank you so much.
Want all members come up?
And I'm going to connect him to Mrs. Brown after this meeting. So, I know you have an issue there.
Congratulations. Good to see you. Please give my best to you. See you.
And then we have 4 to be read into the record, 1 from Councilwoman Smith, 1 from Councilwoman Strasburger, 1 from Councilwoman Warwick, and 1 from Councilman Wilson.
Councilwoman Gail Smith presents, be it further resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby declare Wednesday, May 29th, 2024 to be Patricia Hare Johnson Day in the City of Pittsburgh. And Councilwoman Strasburger presents, be it further resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby declare Thursday, May 23rd, 2024 to be Louise Brown Day in the City of Pittsburgh. And Councilwoman Warwick presents, now therefore be resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby designate the week of May 29th through 25th, 2024 to be National Public Works Week. And Councilman Wilson presents, and be it further resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby declare Sunday, May 29th, 2024 to be Humane Animal Rescue of the Pittsburgh Day in the City of Pittsburgh.
May we have a motion to approve all 4?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All 4 proclamations have been approved. Our moves as to public comment. I would like to remind everyone the rules of council state that comments are limited to matters of concern, official action, or deliberation, which may be before city council, and profanity is not permitted. Once you are called, please restate your name for the record and provide your neighborhood. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak. Our first registered speaker is Dr. Ronald Lynn Miller.
I wish they'd tell me this.
Dr. Ronald N. Miller, Beltuver of Tokyo, Japan. I've been educated in Oxford, England, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Jerusalem, in both Israel and Palestine. Global Intelligence Society candidate for President 2024, globalintelligencesociety.org. I use optimal, or attempt to use optimal information and intelligence, and my Talioje Naushinti, LNS, way of penetrating brain-body on problems such as public safety. A concern of county and city is Sicherheit, European Deutsch, safety, of the City County Building, CCB, in Amorato and Catena and Gainey and Lavelle, in my view, are irresponsible on biochem and radiologic CCB safety. Previous RLMPC on CCB safety began 9, 10, and 17 April 2013. My approach is more than 99% accurate, which is far greater than sloppy Katy, Tay, and Pixie. The temperature top today is supposed to be 32 degrees C. I am a member of the American Society for Microbiology. Safety, LNS kata for biology, right arm up, key of G, F is sharp. Periodic table, row 2. On 30 April 2024 in Pittsburgh public comment, I claimed that the City County Building CCB and the City Council Room, this City Council Room CCR, are not biological, La Faya, African Hausa, safe. Shielded from us are levels in CCR of SARS-CoV-2 virus variants, MRSA bacteria, and Candida aureus fungi. I'm a member of the American Chemical Society. Safety, kata for chemistry, left arm up, key of F, B is flat. Periodic table, columns 17 and 18. On 7 May 2024, in public comment, I made the claim that CCB and CCR are not chem, bujina, Asian Nihongo, safe. Secreted from us are levels in the CCR of supercomplexes like YB2, Cu307, N2O2 nitrogen dioxide, aromatics, and plastic nanoplastics. I'm a member of the American Physical Society, safety, key of B and F, flat, periodic rows 6 and 7. I claim that CCB and CCR are not radiologic safe. That means the smart device EM radiation levels, that laser 5 milliwatt pointers, and radioactive liquids like PO are not available.
Our next registered speaker is Ralph Williams.
I have a lot to talk about. I'm going to try to squeeze it into 3 minutes here. First, I want to thank Deb Gross, and I want to thank Councilman Coghill for their idea about the tiny homes. I like the idea, but I think it doesn't need to be downtown. You have plenty of city property that belongs to you, including the old Highland Drive VA site. Put those folks up there, okay? And I'm not saying this to be ignorant or nothing, but we need to clean up downtown, and the way to do it is to get the homeless out of downtown and clean it up. Don't forget, everyone's pushing for the NFL draft. You need to get this downtown cleaned up and cleaned up quickly. 2026 is coming if the city gets the NFL draft. My next topic, I've spoken about this agency many times here in the past. Nothing has been done. The Housing Authority of the City of Pittsburgh. I am sick and tired of every time I call, I can't get the mayor to do anything. I can't get city council to do anything. Something needs to be done about this agency. I live in one of their buildings. I've said many times, my wife's been assaulted twice in here. Tenants are not being evicted for being problem childs. You talk about lack of affordable housing. Well, how about getting rid of some of the problem childs in some of these buildings and opening up some apartments and getting some people in here that really deserve an apartment, that really deserve to be in a building. Okay, I am very disappointed in the fact that this is a government-funded agency and they don't care. Okay. Next, I want to talk about we need 2 beat cops on Warrington Avenue at night. I live up here in Allentown. Let me say this, at night it's chaos up here. After 6 o'clock, the bar, the Hilltop Tavern causes all kinds of problems, and there's times till about 4 o'clock in the morning. There's music blasting, there's people doing burnouts up here with motorcycles and everything else. There needs to be 2 beat cops on Warrington Avenue, and I don't want to hear no excuses about a shortage. PCTV, I spoke before about PCTV, Pittsburgh Community Television. In the past, PCTV has worked with the city and has had many city programs on there. This is a great outlet for kids, youth, and not only that, but also adults, to come and put on a TV program. But they can't do it because PCTV now is charging $50 an hour for studio time, which they've never charged in the past because they're hurting. The cable companies are not giving them the money they deserve. I think being that this is in the city of Pittsburgh and PCTV has had city council people on their shows and has had the support of the city before, you need to do it again. Help them out with some funding. I'm sure you could find a few dollars to help them out. Also, I want to talk about cleaning up downtown. As I mentioned before, the NFL draft is coming. We need to clean up downtown. Next, affordable housing. You know, that new law you guys have is terrible, where you're squeezing people for who want to build expensive.
Thank you. Our next registered speaker is Carmen Brown. Carmen Brown.
Good morning. You all received the letter that I had sent and emailed. You also, I'm not going to even get into that discussion because you should look at my email. But what I do want to bring up, in my neighborhood, there is people that need resources. There's a lady who has, she's been applying for a roof for 5 years. And she's applied for different organizations, and every time she applied, they said that there's no money. Now, I did talk to Councilman Mosley's office. They did assist, but she's been trying to contact his office, and nobody's answering the phones because she has the application. Because they did refer her to the was it Housing for Humanity? They had got her help through, trying to get her help through that, but she's not getting any leeway. Nobody's calling her back. She has the application, and so she's an elderly woman. She's been applying for a roof, for 5 years. And like I said, every time you turn around, somebody's telling her, "Oh yeah, we don't have any more funding." They're promising her funding, but then they don't have any. So somebody needs to check into it. It's a shame that I had to come down here and talk about that. But somebody needs to look into it. Her name is Jackie Jones. And like I said, she's been in our community. She's the community liaison. She was a committee woman. And it's a shame that, she's not getting the resources that she should get. And she keeps being lied to about, getting the resources to get her roof fixed. So I wanted to bring that up. Also, since I'm here, I want to talk about speed bumps. I live in front of the rec. The recreation center is dangerous over in that area, and cars just speed past even though we have stop signs. So we've been trying to get speed bumps, and it seems like nobody's listening to us about that either, okay? Because we already had a child hit up there by the park. So we need speed bumps. We are doing a petition, so we're getting, some of our people in the community to do petitions. So we definitely need speed bumps over there. We need at least one. We need at least two. One in front of the rec and one before by the park. So if y'all can look into that, I'm going to stay on it. We are doing petitions, and so I would appreciate if y'all look into that, and also our council person to look into that as well.
Thank you. Our last registered speaker is Tony Moreno.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry because I wanted the speed bumps in front of Paulson Avenue.
Ms. Brown, your time has expired. Ms. Brown, thank you. Mr. Moreno.
Thank you for this time. My name is Anthony Moreno. I'm a resident of the North Side. I'm here to talk about this complete atrocity that's about to happen here. I'm in front of council because council is the only stopgap that we have to prevent things like the corruption that we're seeing with this money and this distribution of funds and resources that's happening to this William B. Marshall and B. Marshall production for the Juneteenth celebration. It's right in our face. It's happening right in front of us, and it has become plainly obvious that council has no idea how to govern. You do not understand how you are supposed to represent us, and I say that because of how you are acting. Back when this money was allocated through the ARPA funds, it was done for a reason by Bill Peduto, because it was a no-bid contract that he was giving ARPA money to the B. Marshall production because he was so successful. He had to make it available for a vote. He just couldn't do it because that's not how you govern. There's rules. And those rules state that if you're going to bring public money, public funds, taxpayer dollars in, you have to put it up and give everybody the information on who it's going to go to, and then present it and then vote on it. Well, that didn't happen because Bill Peduto said, I think you need this money because you're the only person who's done it. There was no Juneteenth before B. Marshall, and there were no funds, and there was no organizational way of going about it. So he put it together, put it in legislation, presented it, and then everybody voted on it. That's the contract. There is no contract because there is no process for this. That's why they brought it before council and said, we need $250,000 to go to B. Marshall for Juneteenth, and then have him direct all the public funds go to the arts organizations that bring the artists in. Well, all of a sudden, the Gainey administration doesn't like that. He wanted the money to go through the office of the mayor's, through the mayor's office, so they can take a piece of those funds, and that is through the special events office, because the money goes through there for security, and they take $13 per officer per hour. That's a lot of money, $125,000 according to the last report. That's why B. Marshall right now is saying we got the permits to go, but now I can't afford it because the Gainey administration and council has taken this money and given it to somebody else.
Thank you very much.
Please give this money to B. Marshall. It's where it belongs.
That exhausts our list of registered speakers. If there's anyone in chambers wishing to speak, please come forward at this time. Provide your name and neighborhood for the record. You'll be given 3 minutes to speak.
Good morning. My name is William Anderson. I live at 7035 Chaucer Street, Pittsburgh, PA 15208. I'm in our new elected councilman, Kahari Mosley's district, and I just want to thank his office for inviting me and actually asking me to come down and speak today on the several issues that I have. So currently, I am chair of the Allegheny County Democratic Black Caucus, and I am also chief of staff for the Democratic National Committee Black Caucus. I am also a member of many organizations throughout the county and the state, which are mostly nonpartisan. And I am here to say how offended I am of what's going on with the Juneteenth celebration. As I just returned from Detroit, Michigan, with the First Lady and the First Gentleman, working the Michigan Democratic Women's Luncheon with 1,000 diverse women throughout Michigan. As I am talking about Pittsburgh in our, hope to host the draft, I changed the conversation and start to talk about African Americans and the difference between African Americans in Detroit and African American representation in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And when I talk about Juneteenth, which is a celebration when African Americans, not actually when African Americans were free, but when African Americans in Texas found out that they were free, right? African Americans had been free 2 years prior to the Juneteenth celebration. So here in Pittsburgh, as B. Marshall, 11 years has been fighting and working to bring the Juneteenth celebration to let African Americans in Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh region know that you are free. Right? We are Americans. We are in a democracy. You have the right to stand up for yourself. You are welcome in this city. And every statistic has proven over the last few years that this is the worst place in the country for African Americans. So when the African American mayor says to an African American that is trying to show the people that this city does recognize them, that there is a celebration and there is something for our community. I am ashamed of this situation. I am ashamed of what this mayor and this administration has done to divide the African American community, which is the only celebration that is violent free. So technically, our celebration does not need any police because there is no violence. There is no interaction with police during this celebration in 11 years. There is no IFP, RFP for St. Patrick's Day. There is no RFP, IFP for Little Italy Days. So this is a disgrace, and I demand that this council reverses this decision and Juneteenth go on as it normally has with B. Marshall and full
Thank you
control.
very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. Excuse me. My name is Yvonne S. Brown. I live at 715 Mercer Street, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. First, Ms. Smith, you sent signature. Well, the woman gave me the card. But when Carmen started talking about the woman with the roof, Ms. Smith, I'm in the same situation as she was years ago. In fact, I found the paper it says something about together. I meant to bring it, that you had given me, that they were supposed to help do my house. They were supposed to help, and they didn't. They worked at Tony Gunther. I worked at Neighborhood Legal Services as receptionist secretary. Tony Gunther was a paralegal. They did her house. I remember it was one of the young white kids. It was their birthday. I had all kind of junk because I remember I had gave her a gift and we sang happy birthday and I made some punch and so on. They were supposed to do my house. They never did. So that's why I'm in the circumstances I am now in K. Leroy Irvis. Also, I want you to understand, and the mayor, when I said you've come up there in the building giving out proclamations, which you give like water, but a plaque to Saluddin's brother who just moved in the building for cleaning up in front of August Wilson. So the mayor says, what, Miss Brown, you got a problem with that? Yes, I do, because August Wilson would have had a problem too. August Wilson told me years ago, keep come down and telling your story, because if not, it's history. So it's the mayor's history. His story is that he's giving him a plaque. I can't see spending money. Also, when I look at things, every morning, you're supposed to start at 10. You don't start at 10, 25, so on. All those minutes I said, every one of you should be charged $5 a minute, so we get $45 a minute off of them. And I mean it, I'm tired of it. Sorry, I brought my grandbaby down. She didn't want to speak, because the last time she spoke, Burgess had said it's not the time and the place for her to speak. And I taught her that we are to come and tell you what you need to know, because you don't know. If you don't live in my neighborhood, you cannot know what's happening. At the top of the hill, whenever it's snowing, the parking lot, they don't come at the top of the hill because Public Works will not clean up there. I went to the man, and he said, Miss, he said, I say they clean, but whenever they get a chance to. They don't even come up there in the morning. At 6 o'clock in the morning, that place, they have over 300 something cars. They don't make money because of the city. And also the dirt, the papers, I cleaned that whole neighborhood because of the papers that Jens leaves, City Works leaves.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Michael Bonnewell, Pittsburgh residents. I'm homeless, but there's a myriad of things I want to talk about. I mean, first of all, this man's money for the June 13th celebration. What is wrong with you people? It's sick and vile that you haven't honored your agreement, because your word is your bond, and how is anybody supposed to trust this government if you're not going to keep honor to your word? And the next thing I want to talk about is the homelessness problem. I ran into a Venezuelan immigrant last night. He had nowhere to stay, could barely speak English, and I speak a poquito habla español. But I walked around the city, and I helped him get to where he needed to go. There's not enough things to help if there is illegal immigrants or legal immigrants to have them to where they need to go, and all the beds are full. I'm a homeless man. I've been trying to get help for my medicine, for my health care, for everything, and I can't able to do it. I don't have an ID. I've been out looking for a social worker. I mean, like, what are we supposed to do to help this city of Pittsburgh? I mean, you guys, I do have to tell you, the darkness will come to light, and everything that you've been doing is going to come to fruition. Either get right and do honor by the city of Pittsburgh and the constituents that you serve, otherwise, something, I don't mean that as a threat, but something, we're going to vote you out. We're going to get real politicians in here. And I'm going to get the people in this city, we're going to get here and we're going to, that's all I could think of. Have a good day.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Next speaker, please. Seeing no further speakers, we'll move on to the presentation of papers, beginning with Councilman Sharlin, Chair of Human Resources. Councilwoman Gross for Councilman Sharlin. Thank you.
Councilman Sharlin presents Bill Number 495, Resolution amending Resolution 35 of 2023, which authorized the mayor and the director of the Department of Human Resources and Civil Service to enter into an intergovernmental cooperation agreement or agreements with the County of Allegheny and Partner for Work for the shared operation and administration of the 2023 Learn and Earn Summer Youth Employment Program by increasing the total not to exceed amount by $1,536,059.02 for the 2024 program for a new total not to exceed of $3,036,059.02 over 2 years.
And then Councilman Coghill, Chair of Public Safety and Wellness. Councilwoman Gross for Councilman Coghill. Thank you.
Councilman Coghill presents Bill Number 496, Resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of public safety on behalf of the city of Pittsburgh to enter into a sole source commodities agreement or agreements with Teleflex LLC for the purchase of intravenous needles and related supplies on an as-needed basis for a 3-year term. A not-to-exceed value is not provided so that funds are not encumbered unnecessarily and because demand is unpredictable. Bill Number 497, Resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into an agreement or agreements with the United States Department of Agriculture for services relating to a cooperative wildlife damage management program for white-tailed deer for a sum not to exceed $98,839.11 over 1 year. And Bill 498, Resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of public safety to enter on behalf of the city of Pittsburgh into a professional services agreement or agreements with Freedom Indeed LLC for professional services as a group violence intervention coordinator at a cost not to exceed $479,128 over 3 years.
And now Councilwoman Gross, Chair of Innovation, Performance, Asset Management, and Technology.
No new papers, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilman Mosley, Chair of Intergovernmental and Educational Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilman Mosley presents Bill Number 499, Resolution authorizing a cooperation agreement or agreements providing for the transfer of funds not to exceed $150,000 to the City of Pittsburgh Equipment Leasing Authority for the purchase of vehicles for use by the Office of Community Health and Safety. This expenditure is associated with grant funds that the city will receive from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. Bill 500, Resolution amending Resolution 15 and 198 of 2024, which authorized a cooperation agreement or agreements with the City of Pittsburgh Equipment Leasing Authority for the purchase and leasing of vehicles, equipment and accessories, equipment support infrastructure, and professional services in fiscal year 2024 by increasing the authorized amount by $520,552.50 from $13,975,244 to new total of $14,495,796.50 for additional items to be added to the plan. And Bill 518, resolution nominating Allegheny River Boulevard a scenic byway.
Thank you. That takes us to Councilwoman Kell Smith, Chair of Recreation, Youth, and Senior Services.
No new papers, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Strasburger, Chair of Finance and Law.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilperson Strasburger presents Bill number 501, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of the Federal Bureau of Investigation in an amount not to exceed $9,225.48 over 1 year in full and final settlement of a claim for damage to a vehicle from an accident with the City Department of Public Works vehicle on March 4, 2024. Bill 502, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Sakisha Moran in an amount not to exceed $5,588.52 over 1 year in full and final settlement of a claim for damage to her parked vehicle from a city emergency services vehicle on October 30th, 2023. Bill 503, resolution authorizing the issuance of 3 warrants with a total sum of $280,000. It is further understood and agreed that the payment schedule of the total settlement amount shall be as follows: $150,000 payable to Linda McAfee and her attorneys, Romanal Law Group; $55,000 payable to Linda McAfee, executor of the estate of Clifford McAfee, and her attorneys, Romanal Law Group; $75,000 payable to Diane Delaney and her attorneys, Romanal Law Group, in full and final settlement of litigation filed in the Allegheny County Court of Common Pleas. And Bill 504, resolution authorizing the mayor and the city solicitor on behalf of the city of Pittsburgh to enter into a professional services agreement with the law firm of Cozen O'Connor in connection with matters related to the Public Utility Commission at a cost not to exceed $150,000 over 1 year.
And Councilwoman Warwick, Chair of Public Works and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Warwick presents Bill number 505, resolution authorizing the City of Pittsburgh, the Director of Public Works, and the Director of Finance to enter into an agreement or agreements with Duquesne Light Company to provide, install, use, own, operate, maintain, repair, renew, and finally remove one pole anchor located upon city-owned property at no cost to the city. Bill 506, resolution providing for an amended reimbursement agreement or agreements with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for costs associated with the preliminary design, final design, utility coordination, and right-of-way phases of the Penn Avenue Phase 2 project, and providing for the payment of the cost thereof not to exceed $2,075,000, an increase of $100,000 from the previously executed agreement, reimbursable at 80% with no increase to the municipal share of Commonwealth incurred costs. Bill 507, resolution amending resolution number 680, approved October 20th, 2023, granting unto Office Partners 23, Block G1 LLC, their successors and assigns, the privilege and license to construct, maintain, and use at their own cost and expense, at no cost to the city, a bioretention tree pit and a planting area at 626 Washington Place, 3rd Ward, 6th Council District of the City of Pittsburgh. And Bill number 508, resolution authorizing acceptance by the City of Pittsburgh the dedication of portions of Kirkpatrick Street at no cost to the city in the 4th Ward, 6th Council District of the City of Pittsburgh.
Thank you. Then Councilman Wilson, Chair of Land Use Economic Development.
No new papers, Mr. President.
Thank you. And on behalf of myself, Clerk.
Council President Lavelle presents Bill number 509, resolution appointing Alan Horde as a member of the Board of License, Inspection, and Review with the term to expire January 1, 2027.
What is the member's pleasure? Motion to interview or approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The appointment has been approved.
Bill 510, communication from Jake Pollack, Director of the Office of Management and Budget, submitting the City of Pittsburgh quarterly financial and performance report for the period ending March 31st, 2024.
We need a motion to read, receive, and file.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The bill has been read, received, and filed.
Bill 511, resolution transferring the amount of $17.37 within the 2024 operating budget from council as a body supplies postage to the Department of Finance supplies postage to account for the cost of postage meter usage and stamps for the months of January through April. And Bill 512, resolution transferring the amount of $18,285.12 within the 2024 operating budget from City Council Districts supplies postage to the Department of Finance supplies postage to account for the cost of postage meter usage and stamps for the months of January through April.
Next, we'll move on to the reports of Committee for Final Action, beginning with Councilwoman Erica Strasburger, presenting on the Committee of Finance and Law.
Mr. President.
Councilperson Strasburger presents Bill number 488, reported to Committee on Finance and Law for May 15, 2024, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 449, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of the Cincinnati Specialty Underwriters Insurance Company for legal services in connection with the litigation matter in the United States District Court for the Western District of Pennsylvania for an amount not to exceed $10,000 over 1 year.
You have heard the reading and the title of the bills. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye when their name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Ms. Gross?
Aye.
Mr. Mosley?
Aye.
Mrs. Kell Smith?
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger?
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle, President?
Aye.
7 ayes.
The bill, having received the legally required numbers of votes, is passed finally. That takes us to Councilman Anthony Coghill, presenting on the Committee of Public Safety and Wellness. Councilwoman Gross. Thank you.
Councilman Coghill presents Bill number 489, reported to Committee on Public Safety and Wellness for May 15, 2024, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 438, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of public safety to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency for the purpose of receiving and spending grant funds in the amount of $315,000 to support police recruitment efforts.
You have heard the reading and the title of the bill. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye when their name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Ms. Gross?
Aye.
Mr. Mosley?
Aye.
Mrs. Kell Smith?
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger?
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle, President?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Thank you. The bill, having received the legally required numbers of votes, is passed finally. That moves us to Councilwoman Barbara Warwick, presenting on the Committee of Public Works and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Warwick presents Bill number 490, reported to Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure for May 15, 2024, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 422, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Redevelopment Authority of Allegheny County for the purpose of receiving and spending grant funds in the amount of $100,000 to develop a transit plan in the West End. Bill 437, ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code of Ordinances, Title VI, Conduct, Article 1, Regulated Action and Rights by adjusting language in Chapter 619, Municipal Waste and Recycling, Sections 61902, 61903, and 61904, to keep waste and recycling code relevant to current practices in the city of Pittsburgh. Bill 450, resolution providing for an agreement or agreements to set forth financial obligations and maintenance responsibilities for the pedestrian facilities with PennDOT for local costs associated with the work to be done on SR 0400 Center Avenue and A54 ADA ramps constructed and inspected by PennDOT, and further providing for reimbursement to PennDOT of the estimated cost not to exceed $11,552. Bill 451, Resolution amending Resolution 699 of 2023, which authorized the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works to enter into a professional services agreement with Western Pennsylvania Conservancy in an amount not to exceed $200,000 to support the city's equitable street tree plan over the course of up to 3 years to allow amendments to the agreement at no additional cost to the city.
You've heard the reading and the title of the bills. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bills, vote aye when their name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Ms. Gross?
Aye.
Mr. Mosley?
Aye.
Mrs. Cale Smith?
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger?
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle, President?
Aye.
7 ayes.
The bills having received the legally required numbers of votes is passed finally. That takes us to Councilman Bobby Wilson, presenting on the Committee of Land Use and Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Councilman Wilson presents Bill number 491, reported to Committee on Land Use and Economic Development for May 15, 2024, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 328, resolution providing for the designation as a historic site under Title 11 of the Code of Ordinances, that certain site known as Beth Abraham Cemetery, located at 800 Stewart Avenue in Overbrook, 32nd Ward, City of Pittsburgh. The owner of the property supports the nomination, and there is no cost to the city. Bill 409, resolution providing for the designation as a historic site under Title 11 of the Code of Ordinances, that certain site known as Veterans Memorial Parklet, located at 1020 Brookline Boulevard in Brookline, 19th Ward, City of Pittsburgh. The owner of the property supports the nomination, and there is no cost to the city. And Bill 452, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of City Planning to enter into an agreement or agreements between the City of Pittsburgh and Southside Slopes Neighborhood Association for the installation and maintenance of a mural at Arlington Recreation Center at no cost to the city.
You have heard the reading and the titles of the bills. Is there any discussion? If none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bills, vote aye when their name is called. Those opposed vote no. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Ms. Gross?
Aye.
Mr. Mosley?
Aye.
Mrs. Cale Smith?
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger?
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle, President?
Aye.
7 ayes.
The bills having received the legally required numbers of votes is passed finally. That moves us to Councilwoman Teresa Cale Smith, presenting on the Committee of Recreation, Youth, and Senior Services.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Kel Smith presents Bill number 492, reported to Committee on Recreation, Youth, and Senior Services for May 15, 2024, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 395, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Parks and Recreation on behalf of the City of Pittsburgh to enter into a professional services agreement with Starfire Corporation for the display of a fireworks show in conjunction with the City of Pittsburgh's Independence Day Festival for a 3-year term at a total amount not to exceed $252,200. And Bill 396, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of Parks and Recreation to enter into a financial sponsorship agreement with Sargent Electric for the City of Pittsburgh Independence Day Festival at no cost to the city.
You have heard the reading and the title of the bills. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman
Yeah.
Smith?
Thank you. I just want to thank Director Pollock and the administration for, I've been going back and forth because I had heard so many concerns about the fireworks and the legislation for it. I heard there was no RFP, there wasn't RFP. I heard that the funding was coming from one source it's not coming from. I heard that that the one contract was the higher bid, but they're the ones who got the contract. So I want to thank Director Pollock because I was going back and forth on emails and felt council needed to had a right to see the contracts, the RFPs. We have a right to see all that before we vote on it. And Director Pollock did come over and share the RFPs with me and some of the things. So I do want to say everything that I heard, I'm glad, this is why I bother and take the time to check things out. Everything I heard was actually inaccurate. So I think people get some part of a story and it ends up being a bigger story than what it really is. And for this one, I'm happy to say everything, there was an RFP. It did go to the lowest bidder. And the funding is not coming from a source that was intended just for the artist. So I want to thank you for getting me that clarification too. Councilwoman Strasburger. So I do want to say that we did look into everything. That's all. I want the public to know, when they give us concern, we take the time to look into it. But in this case, I'm glad that all of that was not accurate. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bills will vote aye when their name is called. Those opposed vote no. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Ms. Gross?
Aye.
Mr. Mosley?
Aye.
Mrs. Kell Smith?
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger?
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle, President?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Thank you. The bills having received the legally required numbers of votes is passed finally. That moves us to Councilwoman Deborah Gross presenting on the Committee of Innovation, Performance, Asset Management, and Technology.
Mr. President.
Councilwoman Gross presents Bill number 493, reported to Committee on Innovation, Performance, Asset Management, and Technology for May 15, 2024, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 439, Resolution amending Resolution 279 of 2023, authorizing the mayor, the director of the Department of Innovation and Performance, and the director of Permits, Licenses, and Inspections on behalf of the City of Pittsburgh to enter an agreement or agreements and amendments thereto with Computronics USA, Inc. to provide ongoing professional services to continue to develop and upgrade the POS LMS system in support of the One Stop Pittsburgh permitting program, meeting the needs of the City of Pittsburgh by increasing the approved amount by $151,024 without increasing the original term for an amended total cost not to exceed $2,677,278 for a 3-year term with 2 one-year renewal options. Bill 440, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of public safety and the director of innovation and performance to enter on behalf of the City of Pittsburgh into a professional services agreement or agreements with Active 911 Inc. for provision of a mobile alerting system for a total cost not to exceed $148,750 over 5 years. Bill 453, resolution authorizing the mayor, the director of the Department of Innovation and Performance, and the city clerk's office to enter into an agreement and/or agreements and amendments thereto with General Code for professional services in connection with the codification of ordinances into the Pittsburgh Code and map link services at a cost not to exceed $106,024 over 3 years.
You have heard the reading and the title of the bills. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman Smith?
Just briefly, I just want to make sure that I mention that during this past week, a lot of emails were shared, and no one seems to know that where they originated and how they were distributed. And I just think that we should look at ways we can tighten up, especially during an investigation or when people are still looking into things. We should have a way that we tighten up what's being shared through emails and what's going on in the city. I just think that there's some, people are looking into this, and now all this media spotlight, and we don't even know the reality of what happened there. So I just want to say, I think that we need to start looking into and having some conversations about what happens, because I know that a lot of times people say that, they don't trust our own email system here, and that things aren't being shared internally from other departments. So I just want to make sure that we're having those conversations. But that's it. I just want to bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bill, vote aye when their name is called. Those opposed, vote no. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Ms. Gross?
Aye.
Mr. Mosley?
Aye.
Mrs. Kell Smith?
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger?
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle, President?
Aye.
7 ayes.
The bills having received the legal required numbers of votes is passed finally, and that moves us to Councilman Kahari Mosley, presenting on the Committee of Intergovernmental and Educational Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Councilman Mosley presents Bill number 494, reported to Committee on Intergovernmental and Educational Affairs for May 15, 2024, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill 441, resolution adopting plan revision to the City of Pittsburgh's official sewage facilities plan for 4842 Penn Avenue at no cost to the city. Bill 442, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant payable in favor of Pennsylvania Municipal League for 1-year subscription in an amount not to exceed $52,962.24. Bill 443, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works on behalf of the city of Pittsburgh to enter into an agreement with the Pittsburgh Water and Sewer Authority for temporary right of entry and license at Vanucci Field for the purpose of stormwater improvements at no cost to the city. Bill 444, resolution approving execution of a contract for disposition by sale of land between the URA of Pittsburgh and Communion LLC or a related entity for the sale of Block 27A, Lots 124 and 125 in the 5th Ward, City of Pittsburgh, Wiley Avenue, Council District Number 6 at no cost to the city. Bill 445, resolution authorizing the mayor, the director of the Department of Public Works, and the director of finance on behalf of the city of Pittsburgh to execute a cooperation agreement or agreements with the URA of Pittsburgh, which will provide to the city certain approval and inspection rights related to the future improvements to Broad Street Plaza located at 5977 Broad Street, Block 83P, Lot 249, in the 11th Ward of the City of Pittsburgh, Council District Number 9, and authorizing the mayor and the director of finance on behalf of the city to accept conveyance of the plaza following completion of the improvements to the plaza and approval of the improvements by the city at a cost not to exceed $1 to the City of Pittsburgh. Bill 446, resolution approving execution of a contract for disposition by sale of land between the URA of Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Land Bank for the sale of Block 50G, Lot 76 in the 10th Ward, Council District Number 9, Rosetta Street, at no cost to the city. And Bill 447, resolution authorizing the Pittsburgh Land Bank to acquire all the city's right, title, and interest, if any, in and to the publicly owned properties in the 15th Ward of the City of Pittsburgh, designated in the Deed Registry Office of Allegheny County as Block 56F, Lots 282, 302, 303, 304, and 307, 172 Marsden Street, 0 Marsden Street, and 158 Marsden Street, Council District Number 5, at no cost to the city. And Bill 448, resolution authorizing the Pittsburgh Land Bank to acquire all the city's right, title, and interest, if any, in and to the publicly owned property in the 30th Ward of the City of Pittsburgh, designated in the Deed Registry Office of Allegheny County as Block 33E, Lot 214, 424 Suncrest Street, Council District Number 3, at no cost to the city.
You have heard the reading and the titles of the bills. Is there any discussion? Councilwoman
I
Smith?
just have a question. Do we know how many properties or parcels the land bank can take for one development at a time?
I don't believe, and I will double check this, I don't believe there's anything in legislation that says this is an exact amount that they, I don't believe we've ever set a minimum or a maximum.
Okay, because I just want to be clear, because we were told that there's a minimum, or a maximum, I'm sorry. We're trying to get the second phase of the Ferrywood development done, which is affordable patio homes for senior citizens, which we are so committed to doing. And yet the land bank is saying that they cannot add that many parcels at one time. And it's owned partially by us and partially by the developer.
It may be more of a matter of.
I think you looked into that for me, didn't you?
We'll look into it. I think, but when you say the land bank, it's not the board is speaking as a whole, but I think there's conversations going on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll look into it.
Okay.
Let's talk after.
Okay, thank you. I want to be clear, because I'm going to say it publicly, what they're telling me, what they're doing differently. So either do the same for me, or I'm going to call it out every time. Thank you.
Thank you. We can certainly dive into it further, Councilwoman Smith, but I think it's more of a capacity issue than a legal legislative issue.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman Mosley?
Yeah, I just want to thank the Urban Redevelopment Authority for their work on the Broad Street Plaza. It's a very underutilized public space, and I look forward to its completion. It's going to be a great asset to the business district in East Liberty. So I just wanted to thank them for their work on that.
Absolutely. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bills will vote aye when their name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Ms. Gross?
Aye.
Mr. Mosley?
Aye.
Mrs. Cale Smith?
Aye.
Mrs. Strasburger?
Aye.
Mrs. Warwick?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle, President?
Aye.
7 ayes.
The bills having received the legally required numbers of votes is passed finally. That takes us to motions and resolutions. Anything from members? If not, that takes us to meeting announcements. This afternoon at 2 o'clock, council will hold an executive session on bills 501, 502, and 503 as it relates to litigation. And tomorrow, Wednesday, May 22nd at 10 a.m., council will hold our regular standing committee meeting. Speaker registration will close tomorrow at 9 a.m. To register to speak at this meeting, please fill out the sign-up form on the council meeting webpage or call the clerk's office at 412-255-2138. With that, we need a motion to excuse the absent members, approve the minutes, and adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.